Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to part 3, part 4, Put Up or Shut Up. Today I'm going to talk about crafting and how easy it is to get started. Right off the bat, there's only a couple of words you need to know to really get started. That being Dollar Tree, Dollar General, 99-cent store, pound store, whatever it is you've got in your local area, the cheapest place to buy everything, anything, whatever you're looking for, whether it be cheap paint brushes, cheap paint, not this stuff because this isn't actually sold at those places, but you know, your cheaper craft paints. The real trick to kit bashing, terrain crafting, crafting of any sort for the hobby is picking up junk that you see repurposed as something else. Now, mind you, I'm working on this this tomb made from the good stuff, the pink XPS foam. Don't ever let anybody tell you you can't work with the white, regular styrofoam. You know, the stuff that when you break it, it turns into little white balls of static electricity. Sorry about that, I should have this ready. With a good old-fashioned hot wire cutter, a foam cutter like this, I paid like $20 for it, and I've used it more than dozens of times, scores of times. Well, it'll cut here. Let me give you a real quick demonstration on just a piece of scrap. That's what it does. It just cuts this stuff. Hot knife through butter. That quick, that easy. Very, very little skill needed, because trust me, once you start cutting on your foam, you just learn tricks and practice, and even your biggest mistakes can just turn into a piece of rubble or ruins. I was taking some pieces, just turning them into rocks, just weathered rocks. A lot of people like to use cork and things like that. I honestly prefer to use actual rocks, but for this demonstration and for this project, I'm just using XPS foam. I'm going to use some rocks later on, but for the bigger rocks, when they're not in the exact shape that you want, make them out of XPS. This is XPS foam. You can also use the white stuff for all kinds of things. I've made castle walls. I've made a volcanic island out of nothing but the stuff. Once you've made your shape, you can do like me and the boy and take your barbecue lighter and just melt the edges to get the texture you want. You can use the hot foam wire cutter. You can use an X-Acto knife or an Olfa knife, something like that, to get your basic shape and then work it from there. It's really a lot of fun to make something really cool out of what would have possibly been thrown away. One of the things I've been saving up for a project is anytime I buy like an electronic device, sometimes they're not packed with the styrofoam anymore. They're packed in this sort of cardboard, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's like molded cardboard. It's actually, in rounded and other shapes. I guess it's, made from pulp and then it, shoved into a mold and maybe cooked or dried into weird shapes that have like a sort of orky or even almost, stucco adobe look to them. They're already brown, and I've used them for mountains, for really small games. I've used them for orc villages and Tatooine like starport buildings and things like that. Something you'd see out in the middle of the desert or something like that. And you'd really have to do very little other than cut out some doors and windows, slap some little gribblies on the outside. If you don't know what a gribbly is, it's any little plastic or anything that you slap on something else to give it more texture, to make it look more realistic and more detailed, even though those details and add-ons really don't have any function. They're just to make it look more high-tech or more realistic. Sometimes when you just slap like a fire extinguisher or a vent or a refrigeration unit or a fan or something like that on a building, it's technically a gribbly, but it has a little bit more obvious use and purpose. Another one of the things that you're going to want to, stock up on is cool shapes of cardboard and plastic that you get that maybe they're just flat sheets, but they're so perfectly flat and in good condition that you're like, I can turn this into this, or save it for when I need something flat and smooth. A lot of people like to take their cereal boxes and cut them up into strips or in big, squares or rectangles and save that for a project. Obviously, this sounds like it's starting to, sound like a pre-hoarder issue. Keep it small. Take a box, whatever size you want, and that's where you put your bits and your craft materials, all the little things that you might someday turn into something, and don't let it turn into an entire garage full and blame it on this guy, because everybody I know does something similar and has, a large supply of building materials for projects they probably won't get to. But if you keep it organized and you keep it small, you can, pull off something like this for, a couple of bucks or less, depending on, whether you get this stuff at a job site or if you actually have to go to your local hardware store and buy a sheet of it. You won't regret the purchase of the pink stuff. Everything else, except the obvious paints, glues, and brushes and knives, that stuff you're going to have to buy, but all the other stuff is virtually free. You never know when you're going to find a bottle cap. See these things right here? In the hobby, we know what these are right off the bat. They're usually engine exhaust ports, but I've seen them used as death ray cannons and legs for walkers, but they've just got such a cool, ready to use shape and look to them that they're just begging to be used as something besides just throwing it in the trash when you're done. And to be honest, I never, when it comes to like say I'm going to go build a starship, I almost never have enough of these because I've already used them up on so many other crafts. There are all kinds of things, other caps. You'll see we made that big ATV out of the big orange juice lids because they were just begging to be turned into wheels from some sci-fi vehicle, and I've got a few more, and I'll turn them into other things. I recently went to my local dollar store. Halloween's right around the corner. Got a bag of skulls. Tell me you can't think of like 5 different crafts. Your Temple of Doom, your haunted pirate island, altars, just giant, dead giant bodies laying, off to the side of the road or something like that. I also found some really nasty looking giant spiders. 2 for $1. They're practically already finished. All I need to do is just throw them on the table, and half the players are going to be like, holy crap, that looks too real, or that looks, pretty scary, compared to, let me grab just a regular dude. Yeah, we'll grab old Doc Savage. He sees one of those, that's pretty nightmarish. That's just scary, right? So for very little investment, you'll get a huge, massive return on your investment. We've got all kinds of crafts up here that we've done, some store-bought, model kits, but other things like over in Jackie's section over there, crap tons of just homemade monsters and vehicles and all kinds of great stuff made out of things that would probably just end up in a landfill. They'll probably still end up in a landfill, but it'll be years down the road, and maybe that piece of terrain will be handed down from gaming group to gaming group. So I always recommend you write a little something on the bottom of it. Maybe tell the story, carve it in there, use some runes I should say, and date it. Sign your name in there, and someday this little piece of artwork will be on somebody else's table, and maybe years down the road it'll end up on somebody else's table, and they'll have a story to tell with it, because the companies that make actual terrain, they charge an arm and a leg for this stuff. I'd rather spend 25, 30, 50 bucks on a whole bunch of XPS foam and get the fun out of creating whatever the heck I want, as opposed to buying, I've got this kit over here, where is it? It's way over there. I've got a mausoleum kit I got with a bunch of other stuff. But instead of making that kit, I made a mausoleum from scratch. Now, it doesn't look as good, but now I got two mausoleums when I put the kit together and the one I made from scratch. And, you know, people coming to the table, oh, they're going to go, oh, the Games Workshop mausoleum model. Cool. What are these other ones? Oh, I made those from scratch. Oh, wow, that's awesome. How'd you do it? You know, and you can, you know, get, you know, more feedback and more interaction out of doing something yourself than going, oh yeah, I've got this stock store-bought piece of terrain that, you know, how many millions of people own that particular mausoleum or some other doodad made by, you know, one of the companies. You're going to see those all over the place. Sure, they're going to look good. They're going to even look great, but people are going to be drawn to the one that they've never seen before because it's like, what is that? Where'd you get that? Was that a kit? Oh, you did it yourself? You know, and encourage people to keep doing this. There's so many great things, some of the best terrain I've ever seen, and some of the best miniatures and monsters and things like that were completely one of a kind, made by somebody who just got inspired to go out there and literally put up instead of shut up and do the things, craft something. I encourage every one of you to go out today, tomorrow, something, and just see what you can do. See if you enjoy it. Maybe it's not your thing and you'd rather just do theater of the mind. That's awesome. If you're wargaming or miniature gaming of some sort, you know, instead of just having the old dry erase board and everybody's looking at everything top down, you know, get them a little more immersed with something they can, you know, actually imagine and remember and you know, put together in their heads, you know, their head canon, in their memories of, you know, we fought the undead on top of this hill as we were trying to go into the tomb, and the guardians came up, and, you know, give them a little bit more visuals during the game. Yeah, you know, I was supposed to do a video Sunday to show off everything I did, but we had a power issue, so I couldn't get it all out. So I'm going to extend the challenge until this Sunday. Let's see what you guys did in the course of a week. I'm giving you 2 weeks, but just tell me this is what I did over the week, and come on the show and show me what you did. I'll have had, you know, done a lot more between now and then. I've got the models on my table. Now I'm working on 2 separate pieces of terrain, and we'll be back Thursday to work on this one on camera a little bit more. But in the meantime, you know, go out there and, you know, if you're not a terrain guy and you're only doing the miniatures, cool. Let's see what you did. Let's see what you put together or painted. And if you're a crafter and you like doing the terrain making, you know, even if it's your first time, you know, it'll give us the chance to say, hey, you know, have you heard of this product, or have you know, ever thought of using this? I get these really cool things I just saw. They're these tufts. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they're little bits of grass that you can stick onto a miniature. Let's see if I can take this one. See, they're just little, you know, like tumbleweed looking weeds or patches of grass. You put it on a model or a miniature base, and it just gives it so much more realism. And you know, they're great for dioramas and stuff like that. But you throw just one on a little miniature base like this, and instead of it just being a bunch of rocks and sand that he's stepping in, oh hey, there's a little weed that just managed to survive in this harsh environment wherever this guy's hanging out. He's got a buddy or two that I'm working on also. These are Shadows of Brimstone miniatures. All I've done is the Zenithal, an Army Painter speed paint wash, and then another dry brush of white, so that the next colors I bring out will not be white, but, you know, a lighter color shade of blue. But let's see what you did this week. I hope you guys have fun, because, you know, that's what it's all about. And until next time, you know what I'm going to say. Happy trails.